What is up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. This is my co-host, Heather C. So I Love a Mama's Boy, Season 3, Episode 11, the finale has aired, and we know exactly what has happened, the outcomes of each situation. So first things first, I want to talk about Trey and Abby real quick. They were not on this episode, but we do know that Abby has moved out of her parents' house into an apartment. She and Trey are both co-parenting their son very well, and she has found someone new, and things are going well. And Trey is actually remodeling his house with Lorinda right by his side. So I want to say I wish the best for you all. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us this season. All right, so I want to jump in and talk about Robert, Christy, and Nancy. So I know we talked about last week how we didn't know if Robert will be capable of not communicating with his mom and going over to their house every week for the family dinners and just being immersed in her life. And I have to say, I stand corrected. Robert has said that he is no longer communicating with his mom. Now, at the time that they filmed it, he said that it had been a couple of days. And he actually said that he felt free. He felt like he wasn't a puppet. He wasn't on strings. He wasn't having to mediate between Christy and Nancy. And he feels good. And he even went on to say that he is a reformed mama's boy and now a wifey boy. So what do you think? Do you believe it? Do you believe that this is really the end for that situation?
I don't think that it's the end. I mean, I think that there should be a healthy separation where you can still love your mom and be close with her and still be, a good husband or wife to your, significant other. I actually find it to be really sad because he said that he feels free. He feels like he can finally breathe. And it's like, that's really sad if you think about it. I mean, this is his mother. This is his mother that, birthed him, that raised him, that always been by his side. And he's saying by her not being there was a breath of fresh air. That's really, really sad.
Yeah.
Because how were you a mama's boy if you don't even miss having her around? I think that Nancy needs to take this time to really soul search. I think she needs to look at the bigger picture and she needs to realize, like, look at the outcome because of my actions.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the people that I hurt. My own son said that he feels better when I'm not around. That has to be heartbreaking for a mother. So I really hope that she gets some help where she can, sort through her feelings and, her and Christy can mend, for once and for all, and they can just be a happy family and not be at odds with everybody.
Yeah. And Robert did say that he's open to speaking with her and opening things back up if she was to get therapy. And obviously, a communication door needs to be open. And therapy does that because it gives you the perspective to see things from other people's objectives and perspectives. And it opens up from that selfish way of looking at things to saying, well, hey, these actions that you are doing can affect other people around you in this way. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, Nancy will be open to that so she can be back in her granddaughter's lives because that's what they deserve. They are the people who are suffering here. Those girls need her in their lives. So a lot has happened with Ethan, Lena, and Esther, and I don't even know where to start. So we learned that there is a issue with the wedding guest list. So apparently Esther has 80 people, Lena has 75, and then Ethan's dad has 50, and Esther wants to add 20 more people to the list. And instead of adding 20 more and then increasing the number of guests, her idea was to decrease the number of Lena's guests. And Ethan actually went to her. He took her to this beautiful gazebo where their love started, where he proposed to her and said, by the way, is there any way that we can trim off any, like third or fourth cousins or people that you don't really talk to so we can increase the number of people that my mom can bring? Now, the fact that he brought this up to her instead of telling his mom, you have more people invited to this wedding than Lena and I combined. I think that if you want to add more people, just increase the number of the guest list and do so. We can't subtract from her family who's all flying in, who's all coming into the wedding. And it really showed her that she doesn't really have a lot of leeway when it comes to Esther. Esther is really in charge.
Well, where's Ethan's guest list?
They didn't say any. Yeah, they didn't say anything about his guest list. Maybe he and Lena's number are combined.
I understand and respect the fact that Esther is paying for the wedding, but paying for something doesn't give you the right to hold it over someone's head and dictate everything. I think that they needed to sit down and sort everything out. Your tennis friends don't have to come to a wedding. Why don't they come to the reception?
Yeah.
Like, you're telling her to like disinvite her cousin or her aunt so your tennis friend can come. But all in all, this became irrelevant because we learned the passing of his therapy cat,
Yeah.
Dennis, which is more like, instead of a pet, a friend or a son, as they said. And first of all, I'm very sorry for your loss. The loss of anyone or anything is horrible, and especially when they've been there for you in your darkest times. So I'm really sorry to hear that. Although I don't feel like that's the only reason, even though they said, I don't feel like that's the only reason why the wedding got postponed without a future date. I think that there's a lot of stuff that needed to be sort through. So it's probably for the best, because Lena was not happy. She
No.
was. And I think she was seeing her life unfold in front of her. So they say that things happen for a reason. Maybe the passing of Dennis was kind of like a way to put a halt on things. I mean, life is a big lesson, and you take the lessons as you could get them, and we can't control situations or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it's just, maybe they could take this time to reflect to see if that's what they really want, because
Yeah.
taking things slower is a lot easier than throwing away thousands of dollars on a wedding that is doomed to divorce.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that they needed to have a time to have open communication and talk things through. And in this episode, we again saw Ethan and Esther flirting and doing the same thing. And she said, "You guys really don't take me seriously, and you really don't take my feelings into consideration." So, like you said, this is a super unfortunate situation. I'm so sorry to Ethan for what he is feeling, but they can take this time after the grieving process to really listen to each other and understand how each other are feeling, because Lena needs to feel like her feelings are valid. And in that conversation, when Esther was like, "Oh, look, we're being chastised, we're being punished for our behavior," like they were almost mocking her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair. You need to feel valid in your relationship. And in a marriage, you most definitely need to feel valid. So maybe next season, we will see a wedding take place between Ethan and Lena. We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, that's it for part one. We're going to come back with part two. We have a lot more to talk about. Brittany did get her confrontation with Matt, and it was explosive. And Emily got her one-on-one time with Layla, and there was a little bit of violence. Nothing towards each other, but the furniture in Layla's house was not safe in this situation. All right, guys, I'm George Mossey. This is my co-host, Heather C. Thank you so much for joining us this season for I Love a Mama's Boy. I cannot wait for next season. We'll talk to you all really soon.
Bye.